What's up everybody and welcome to the Fight Franchise and our preview and prediction of the co-main event of UFC 308 where Khamzat Chimaev is taking on one of the most legendary middleweights of all time in Robert Whittaker in what seems to be the matchup to predict or get the next title contender in play after it seems Sean Strickland will face Dricus du Plessis in a rematch at the beginning of next year. Huge matchup which has kind of been booked before at I think it was a fight night in June where Khamzat Chimaev pulled out due to an illness, and then since then I think it was Ikram Aliskerov took the place of Khamzat Chimaev. Robert Whittaker KO'd him, and then Robert Whittaker, being an absolute stud, said, I don't care, still I want to beat up Chimaev. And to be honest with you, if he beats Chimaev, he's had a legendary year. Robert Whittaker has, when you look at it. You know, he beat Paulo Costa at the start of the year in a fight where he fought back from adversity. Beats Ikram Aliskerov first round KO, and if he can beat Chimaev as well, he's one of the best fighters of the year. You know, that is a wicked roster of fighters, especially when you're kind of coming off the loss of DDP and who became the world champion. That is a huge way to build yourself back up and get yourself back into title contention. You know, there's a lot of fighters after they lose against a high-level title contender or after they lose the title and they're just kind of like, sit on the sideline, get one win and get back into title contention. Colby Covington comes into mind. But Robert Whittaker is an absolute stud. Every time he's lost a title contention bout or title bout, he's worked his arse off and beat the rest of the division, whether it's Vettori, Jared Cannonier, Darren Till. He fights and earns his title shot back. So credit to Robert Whittaker for still saying yeah to Khamzat Chimaev. Probably gives me confidence in if I'm going to pick him, because there must be a reason he's willing to say yes, unless it's just the kind of like he wants to test himself against the best of the best. But let's kind of run down the tale of the tape, the recent history of both guys and how we think this fight is going to go. So Robert Whittaker, 27 wins, 7 losses, and Khamzat Chimaev 13-0, never been beaten. 6 foot for Robert Whittaker, 6'2" for Khamzat Chimaev. Both same weight, but I'd probably say Khamzat Chimaev walks around the heavier guy. 7'5", 75 inch reach, for Khamzat Chimaev, 73.5 inch reach for Robert Whittaker, but Robert Whittaker has a 3-inch advantage in the leg reach. So, how do I think this fight's going to go, and how do I think it's going to play out? So, let's kind of look at the history of both guys and kind of their kind of recent record. So, Robert Whittaker, became champion, then lost the title to Izzy, beat Till, Cannonier and Gastelum, lost to Izzy again, beat Vettori, lost to DDP, then beat Paulo Costa and beat Ikram Aliskerov. The one thing you would say, the guy has been so active, ever since his illness. I remember he was supposed to fight Adesanya at UFC 234, I want to say, and then I think he had a hernia. Ever since then, the guy's been one of the most active fighters in the world, but he's been active against high-level competition. Iron sharpens iron, so fair play to Bobby Knuckles. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fights since that first loss to Adesanya for the title at UFC 243, where he lost his belt. Khamzat Chimaev was at one point one of my favourite fighters in the UFC, and whether people think you glaze him and whatnot, but in the same fight time frame, he debuted and it was 2 fights in 10 days, and then it was like 3 fights in like 2 months, and the hype behind this guy was unreal. His first 2 fights absolutely battered, his first 2 opponents, John Phillips and Reese McKee. KO's Gerald Meerschaert in 17 seconds, and the hype behind this guy was unreal, and even I was on the Khamzat Chimaev hype train. I genuinely thought this guy would have the best chance of becoming a triple-weight world champion. I thought he could have done welterweight, middleweight and light heavyweight. Boy, was I wrong. He beats Li Jingliang. I think he takes a lot of time off because I think he gets COVID and he's like, I'm going to retire. But returns, has an absolute dominating performance against Li Jingliang. And I think a lot of us are thinking at the time, like, This guy can make a run at welterweight, and then he gets a high-level welterweight matchup against Gilbert Burns at UFC 273, where both guys go to war, and they put on a war, have a close fight, and I had Khamzat Chimaev winning that fight. But that is one thing I'll give him, the benefit of. These two can both go to war. You think of that Robert Whittaker versus Yoel Romero second fight, absolute war. You think of that Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat Chimaev fight, absolute war. Both guys have that dog in them. So if it goes, into the third round and they're both slugging at each other, this could be a very fun fight and steal the fight of the night off the main event. But they've both got the ability to, fight fire with fire and go to war. And then off the back of the Gilbert Burns fight, he goes to like third in the welterweight rankings. They give him Nate Diaz, and it's like, that's an easy matchup, but it's like off the back of the Nate Diaz fight, his star could be so huge that they might just go, yep, title shot against Kamaru Usman. Here you go, Khamzat. Because let's be honest, the UFC want him to be a champion. The guy's a star. He had so much star power at the time. Fails to make weight against Nate Diaz, fights Kevin Holland, schools Kevin Holland in one round. That performance is great. And then it's like, he's just sat on the sideline for ages and we're waiting for him to return against like Leon Edwards or just fight anyone. And then it just turns out he's like, I can't make the weight, I'm going up to middleweight. He was supposed to fight Paulo Costa last year in his middleweight debut, which would have still been an interesting matchup to see, and I want to see that matchup if he does lose. But Paulo pulls out, Kamaru Usman steps in at middleweight, and they both have a very close fight. Khamzat dominates the first round, and a lot of people online have said Kamaru Usman wins the second and third round. I think overall I gave Khamzat Chimaev the win, but it was a very close fight. But yeah, that's how his career's been. It's kind of like, the star was so bright at the start and it's just kind of slowly fizzled out because of inactivity, illnesses, injuries and whatnot, and just politics outside the UFC, which is just BS on his career. Because, let's see, how old is he now? Let me just see his age. 30. So he is still in his prime, but is that prime as good as Robert Whittaker's prime at the minute, who's been so active and so, competitive and is game ready and game bred for fights at the minute? You look at Robert Whittaker, 3 years older, but, the wins that Robert has on his career compared to Khamzat, night and day. So how do I think this fight's going to go? And my technical preview. I think we all know what Khamzat Chimaev is going to do in the first round. Khamzat Chimaev is one of the most entertaining one-round fighters in the UFC. His first rounds are so jokes. He just runs out there, goes, and this is the one thing I love about Khamzat Chimaev. He does not give a flying, he just goes out there and just shoots a power double leg, power single leg, gets you back up against the fence, trips you up and just goes for the wrestling straight away, which I love. He knows where his advantage is. He knows when he's best. He knows in that first round, his power, his strength, his ability is at his best. Let me try and win this and finish this fight straight away. I think there's been a lot of talk in the MMA sphere about grapplers being boring. This is one grappler who is entertaining as heck. I feel like we know what he's going to do. He's going to go straight away, shoot the takedown and try and get Rob to the ground and literally get that rear naked choke, get a submission. And the one thing about Chimaev's submissions, a lot of them, I believe, are chokes. I think when you look at them, rear naked choke, kind of Darce chokes or variations of a Darce choke. He always gets chokes. He never really gets, limb submissions like, leg lock, heel hook or armbar Kimura. He's probably got the strength and the ability to do them, but he loves going for the choke. I feel like he's going to go there, shoot for the takedown and look for that submission in one round, get out there, easy money, and then scream for that next title shot as he does. Whittaker, on the other hand, he can KO him. If this becomes a war over 5 rounds and the gas tank saps going into the 3rd and 4th round, I think he can KO him because I'm certain this is a 5-round fight, which is a huge benefit for Robert Whittaker. If Robert Whittaker, and this is what he's probably been doing for the last 6 months because he was booked to fight in June, has been training his grappling. If his grappling is up to scratch, if he can have perfect takedown defense and submission defense, I think the takedown defense isn't as big because he's going to probably get taken down. It's fighting the hands into position and the submission defense more, which is key for Robert Whittaker, because if he can survive that first round and that weather that storm, Khamzat Chimaev's, if it's a stamina bar, it's 100. If he gives it his all in the first round, his stamina bar's at 50 in the second round, and if this is a 5-round fight and you pace yourself, by the 5th round, Khamzat's never been 5 rounds. By the 5th round, he's going to be exhausted. And that's where Robert Whittaker can take over and finish him. He just needs to survive on the ground, and that's the key points. If this was 3 rounds, I'd give Khamzat Chimaev a huge edge of winning this fight rather than it being 5 rounds. I think 5 rounds really hampers him, but he needs 5-round experience if he's going to fight DDP or Strickland for the title. But I couldn't see Robert Whittaker one-shotting him. If anything, the power advantage is with Chimaev. The one thing I love about Chimaev, his straight shots are brilliant. I feel like his hooks are terrible, but his straight shots are epic. The straight right hand down the middle, that left hand. I'm pretty sure he knocked out, was it Ikram Aliskerov? Was it with an uppercut? I think it was with an uppercut in Brave. He knocked him out with an uppercut. So those straight shots are key. And I'm not going to say Whittaker is a bit chinny, but there's just some fights where he just always ends up getting rocked and coming back and fighting back from adversity. I think Darren Till rocked him in one fight. I think Paulo Costa rocked him with their leg kick. Izzy rocked him in the first round of their first fight. For some reason, in the first round, he just always ends up getting rocked. And that should give also Chimaev some huge boosting confidence, knowing that if he does land, he could potentially do some damage. But I just feel like if Rob can weather the storm, he'll be okay. So how do I think this fight is going to go? I'm going to go, and normally I'd go with my head, but I'm going to go with my heart. Khamzat Chimaev submits him in the first round. I want that to happen just because I want a new, fresh contender, and I want to see him. I want to see if the hype is real. I want to see if he can become a champion. That's the only reason I'm going to predict him to win in the first round via submission. I don't think the one thing about Whittaker and this middleweight division is lacked grapplers, and I don't think he's had that high level grappling training in fights where he's had to grapple. He's just been striking recently. All these guys are now striking them on the feet, but when he's just faced the best strikers in the division, your kind of Izzy's, he's been outclassed. And I'm pretty sure DDP had some moments of success where he just kind of outbullied Robert Whittaker in the grappling. But I just think Khamzat Chimaev's tenaciousness and pressure will be too much for Robert Whittaker to handle in the first round. He'll get him down 100%. He'll take him down, flatten him out, and just find a rear naked choke, get those hooks in, and just make it an easy night. That doesn't mean Rob's rubbish. I just think that's how it's going to go. If Robert Whittaker survives the first round, however, I think Robert Whittaker wins a decision. I just think there's too much going for him in that aspect where he's got more avenues to win going into the second, third, fourth, fifth round. I think, Khamzat's a one-round fighter, whereas Robert Whittaker's an overall fighter. But I'm going to predict I want him to win. I want Chimaev to win in the first round via submission, and that's what I'm going to predict. Let us know your predictions down in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win? Do you think Chimaev's going to win? Do you think Whittaker's going to win? Who do you want to win? Put that down in the comments down below. Leave a like if you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more MMA and fight content coming soon. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you in the next one.